All right, raise your hand if you want to hear some interesting Las Vegas technology history. Okay, no, everybody's down. I'm down. It's relevant. As a disclaimer, I don't know if everything I'm saying is true.
You are being recorded.
That's true, and I looked right into the camera. So,
Slender.
well, it's not even that. So, all right. So, I've been in Vegas for about 3 years now. I got married here 5 years ago, just before COVID. Ran for state senate. I've been very actively engaged in the community. I love it here. And I've been learning some interesting things. So for those that don't know, there was this guy named Tony Hsieh, really cool cat. He brought Zappos to Vegas. And he really wanted, he had a vision for Las Vegas that he tried to make a reality. And there was a fund and a downtown project, and a lot of money got thrown in. And they gave $500,000 investment. Who would like $500,000 to work on a project they're running?
I don't know, sometimes
Okay.
it goes to hell.
All right. So, 2 people ended up killing themselves. That's fucking ridiculous. You're like, oh, I'm funded, I'm doing my thing, I better jump off the Ogden right down by the El Cortez. Fuck, right. Which is lead me to wonder. I believe the story arc essentially, and this is just from what I've heard, folks got funded. This is exciting, there's parties, there's attention, they're doing their thing, and then I think when they realized that they were probably gonna fail, they couldn't handle the pressure because they were given so many resources to rise so high that they couldn't handle the fall. See, yeah, I never had the good fortune or misfortune of anyone investing in me like that. I had to earn my cash and fail on my own. So but yeah, no, that's a really strange turn of events. So on that positive note, welcome to the Sin City Programmers Meet. So Gabriel is not here today. He did give me his slides. And the slides are not the ones I would present, but I'm going to do my very best to present what he prepared here. So, for those that don't know, there's a belief that Vegas is not a very technical crowd. They think that Vegas is about gambling and drinking and debauchery. And it's true that this place is about gambling and drinking and debauchery. It's a beautiful thing. But it's also the world capital of marriages. And in my biased opinion, but I think fact supported by record, there actually are a lot of very technical people here. And I've got some projects I've been working on. And the fact of the matter is, I don't think that the tech talent that's here has a place where they coalesce as much. And that's a part of why we have Tech Alley. So thank you to everybody for coming today. So, here's the little agenda. See, I wouldn't have phrased it this way. This is a little more charming in personality than I would. So we're going to talk about some things right now, news from the year. We're going to have a technical challenge. I'm going to give us a situation and we're going to brainstorm solutions. And then it's just open networking, chit chat, talk to people. A part of the challenge in building a technical community is actually building the community part of it and having people actually talk. So we'll probably have some good things to talk about. So, robots using lasers to kill weeds. No pharmaceutical or no agricultural chemicals, no paraquat, nothing like that. Have you guys seen any of this or looked into this at all? All right. So, I don't know the exact tech specs on this, but I'm imagining some version of there's cameras and then there's lasers, and then there's a microprocessor somewhere, and if it sees the weed, it zaps it. What I don't know is if this is actually economically viable, right? The power constraints on it, it's moving around. Can it actually zap all of the weeds? You know, the crop duster, for all of its flaws, it can dust crops over multiple acres pretty straightforward. I don't know how this thing would cart around. So, with this as sort of a discussion prompt, so obviously if we could kill weeds without using nasty chemicals, that might make our food safer, make our environment better. That's all well and good. But if you think about your own engineering adventure, are there problems that you're actually solving for people? One of the things that I think is really exciting about what I do at my company's BigTB. At BigTB, we work with business owners to solve very specific problems. They say, okay, I'm having a problem here with this system. I would like this thing to be different or whatever, and we solve it. So, I'm going to invite anybody that wants to participate. We've got to we've got to use this mic. However, does anybody want to talk about any projects that they've worked on or want to be working on that, help address very real problems? Or I'm sure you guys have done something interesting. He said to a relatively small audience.
Presentation level, right?
Well, the other thing is, if it's a technical meetup, there's largely a lot of introverts here, most likely, and so they may not want to participate. Great news, I'm an extroverted engineer. We don't happen often, but we did happen here. So one of the things that I'm really excited, I think agriculture is an old industry. It's, humans have tried to figure out how to eat for a very long time. I think one of the exciting things, I don't think that this is particularly moving anything, right? Let's say right now we have food. I don't know that this is going to change the fact that we have relatively plentiful food of relatively good quality. Nothing's radically changing off of this. On the other hand, very similar technologies, if we're taking a look at medical imaging. So I have a daughter that had 4 brain surgeries by age 2. Her doctor wasn't sure she'd live till age 3. Great news is she turned 10 and will probably be turning 11, everything. Now she's very cognitively delayed. And a part of this is they had to do these surgeries. They removed things out of her brain. I'm going to talk about surgeries 3 and 4. Brain surgery 3, they took some probes, shoved them under her skull, between her brain and her skull, left that in there, bandaged it up, left it there for 3-4 days. Then they took it all out and used the imaging that they got to decide where they were going to be removing parts of her brain. At the time, I remember going to the hospital and they had like 6 small computer monitors up that just looked like chaotic noise and graphs to me. And they say, oh, well, this wonderful pediatric neurologist can actually understand these. And I said, well, that's all well and great. Now, this was many years ago. Why are we not in 2024 heading into 2025? Why don't we have the AI systems actually going through the medical data to actually help provide the insight? I'll tell you how that might have been different for my daughter. But before I tell you how it might have changed the outcome for my daughter lives a happy life right now. She smiles, she giggles, she has friends, she's very cognitive delayed, but she has a tablet. It's an alternative communication device, and that's sort of her portal to the world. She can express thoughts, ideas, learn math, all these other things. One of the things that could have been a lot more different that I would get far more excited about than killing weeds, not that killing weeds with lasers isn't cool, it's cool. Killing things with lasers is cool. Happens to be a weed, still cool. But the level of resolution that we could get on the imaging of the brain would radically have improved. So for example, let us imagine 10 years from now, we have AI imaging that can give a higher resolution understanding of the way the brain waves, the electrical activity is working in the brain. What this means is instead of a neurosurgeon having to go in and maybe removing, I'm just going to make up some numbers, 10 grams of brain matter, which was probably in there because we needed it. Maybe they only need to remove 2 grams. Or maybe they're not going to worry about bumping up against a communication center. Or maybe they're not going to bump in. So I'm biased. I think medical imaging is more important than zapping weeds. However, one of the things that I think is really beautiful about sort of the journey of technology is we're going to get a lot better at scanning brains if we get good at zapping weeds. If we get good at using these technologies in other use cases, we can generally apply them to other things. So anyways, that's a part of what I've really liked over the last probably 2-3 years. It seems like there's a lot more folks that are trying to expand sort of their thought spheres. So we're seeing more overlap. So for example, I do a ton with WordPress. I love my LAMP stack. and OpenAI has helped me really bridge off to other technologies. Like right now, I've been using a lot more Python than I would have otherwise. And so for me, it's really exciting seeing how people are applying these new technologies in different spaces. And I really like getting inspired by seeing how, for example, the weed zapping technology might be able to be applied to other types of things. So, all right, going with Gabe's presentation here. So one of the things, and this is in reference to the last question there, the questions, what are some other industries you may have forgotten about when thinking about improvement with software? And I'm going to challenge you to think about, well, what is it that we do with software? Why does it exist? Usually it's to solve a problem, make a thing happen. And frequently the areas that are getting the most innovation are the areas that have the most sort of engineering attention, if that makes sense. So one of the businesses I started a bunch of years ago was selling mailing and telemarketing lists. It's not a super exciting industry. No one's ever like, oh my God, I would love to marry a guy that sold junk mail lists. That's for me. It's just not really in the cards. However, it paid for an Aston Martin, and there's plenty of people who would like to hang out with someone that bought an Aston Martin. Reason why I bring this up is it's not a particularly new industry. It wasn't a new industry when I got into it. There was still a lot of innovation left in the process. I was able to radically lower the cost of the way that people were able to get leads and also help them get just better access to their business process. Aside from price, there were advantages. So I'd say there's probably a lot of industries that would benefit from technology, but we don't, like software technology, but if you don't have the subject matter expertise in that industry to understand it, right? If you're not the farmer, if you're not the this, you're not the that, then the question becomes, how would we apply that? So before I move on from this slide, are there any industries that people want to maybe chat about here that they think might be ripe for some innovation, if even a small amount? Yeah, I'm bringing the mic. We got a volunteer. All right, my friend. Yes.
Is it working?
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah. So like the medical industry.
Yeah.
How like there's a lot of like undiscovered grounds that you can go for. Maybe like let it be an AI like chat that can like redirect you to like some therapists that are like specialized in your type of like problems. That type of field.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like much more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll talk about the medical one a little bit here. So, like, put this one here. All right. Now I'll be in frame. So, like with the medical space, 15 years ago, I was talking to a guy. No, 20 years ago, I was talking to a guy about something. So, if I said that there's an adverse reaction list with medications, what might we think that is? You take two medications, they interact, you die, some version of that, right? Well, there's a very standardized list of these, and so one of the things that I was working on, like a guy was working on, it wasn't even me, was just an interaction list of, I don't want to prescribe somebody something that will kill them. So what it needs to do is it needs to understand what prescriptions they're on now, have a don't mix this list, and then I'm going to prescribe this, and then have it do a check and say, is it going to kill them or not? That is technology that was available 15, 20, 30 years ago. It's not really that interesting by today's standards. One of the things, I'll pick on the medical industry, as if it's some actual individual or something, but we'll pick on them a bit. Within the medical industry, there's not a lot of innovation I'll revise. Innovation isn't able to happen at the same speed it is in other sectors because there's a lot of bureaucracy and existing sort of, I'm going to just call it establishment for want of a better term, but you've got these medical license boards and these different practice areas and these different best practices and
Operations.
Yeah, operations. They got all these different things. And so like I heard of a story relatively recently. There's I'm assuming a doctor who had developed a way that you could do joint replacements, think hip and knee replacements, radically less invasive, radically less painful, massive improvements in recovery and outcomes. But this technology, this process couldn't be licensed appropriately to be shared and expressed, and so they couldn't figure out. So meanwhile, there are people having inferior surgeries. With the medical, a part of what drives me up the wall is, it's like, come on, it's like our brothers, our sisters, like, let's be cool. Like, so anyway, yeah, I think we've got that. And in particular, too, I also think mental health with language models is really well suited to. Hold up. Nobody can hear you unless you have the microphone, my friend. Here you go.
Okay, so like one field that's like typically advanced with like AI specifically is the radiology field. So like there's this new software which like you implement, like you like copy and paste the what's it called, like the scan that you have.
Yeah.
And it picks up like the diseases that you ask for like 10 times quicker than a doctor.
I wonder how the expensive doctors feel about that.
No.
It's bad for business if you're good at doing something that a machine can do better. All right. Well, that's been a good slide for us. So I'm not really a security guy. Probably should be. I have security best practices. There's any number of ways I try to protect things. Apparently there's an approval of post-quantum encryption. So folks have been worried about quantum computers. Wow, what if the computer is really, really fast and it can brute force things? And so allegedly, we've got some post-quantum encryption that can help keep everything safe. Show of hands, anyone want to dive more in on this? I don't really know shit about it, if I'm honest. And I don't even really find it that interesting. It's like, keep the bad guys out. Next.
Well, the gist of it is they can do one aspect of the algorithm faster, millions of times faster. So potentially brute force could be a thing.
Right. Since you didn't have the mic, I'm going to repeat roughly what you said.
Didn't seem to do anything.
No, the mic is for the recording for the people at home.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh.
So otherwise, literally, it's just me talking to myself. So yeah, all right, well, we'll move on. Okay.
There's a question here that sometimes comes.
Oh. And I do like the theater, but the lighting's a little rough.
So for post-quantum, they're currently most of the encryption algorithms we still have are still like capable of resisting like quantum computers at the scale that they exist now, because basically quantum computers still haven't really gotten to the point where they can start decrypting messages of people, especially on a large scale. So it's not really a big deal, but it is good that we're already starting to get prepared. Lots of like suggested algorithms, because it involves a lot more advanced math and new algorithms that aren't normally like present, and sometimes they're proven to not be effective against like preventing quantum, but some of them have been shown to be effective. It's just they tend to be a lot slower than, like, they're not as efficient because they're not as popular, these post-quantum, compared to the normal encryption methods. Also, we built a lot of our cryptography infrastructure on RSA specifically, which it has been known to have problems for a long time. But I guess we still use it for whatever reason, because I guess it was a standard. So we should really change some of those things. And then there's always the risk that NIST has been putting backdoors, like they've done in the past, into some of these encryption algorithms, but it's not for sure. So I don't know.
As long as there's federal funding behind it, I don't trust it.
Well, but then you don't trust Tor or even, well, the internet itself at that point. Or,
That's correct.
well, I guess you could be Amish.
No, I embrace the technology. I don't trust it. You can fly in a plane and not trust it.
Okay,
you can
I
drive
guess
a car and not trust it.
That's
you can
a
live
fair
it
point.
within a country that has a federal government and not trust it.
Right. But like, okay. Oh well. So that's
right.
going into tangent land. So.
Well, and just on the encryption, decryption, security, one of the things that I like to do to stay sharp, to the extent that I do, is work on new things that I haven't done before. And one of the things I've tried to do over the last month is brute force the Bitcoin network. And you might think, well, Josh, how are you going to brute force it? And the answer is not effectively. But I learned a lot about the way that the algorithms go. So for example, I thought that if there's a 12-word seed phrase, if we just guessed them at some point, we might be able to get them. It's septillions of possible combinations, but it's made even more ridiculous by the fact that you need the combination of the seed phrase and the wallet, and then you can start generating permeations of it. So there's a lot of levels in there. So anyway, all that to say, I tried brute forcing something and I thought it was going to be easier than it was, and I found out that it was by orders of magnitude more complicated than I thought it was. So hopefully things will stay secure. Okay, AR. Okay, we've got a little AR versus VR discussion. So I'm going to ask for show of hands. You can only choose one, AR or VR. Which one's your favorite? So let's start with VR. Virtual reality. You put on a headset, you get engaged. Okay. AR, augmented reality. You're in your normal world, but you get to see extra things. All right. So I don't, raise your hand if you thought the metaverse was going to be a bust. It's so stupid. So they're like, oh, there's an open world with goggles. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but my 4K monitor in an open world is prettier. Okay, so here's some discussion prompts. Okay, what's the most promising or exciting aspects of AR, VR, anyone? All right.
I'll talk about it.
What's that?
Oh, yeah,
All right, great. Let me get you a mic. This one, in fact.
Thank you. So I'm a big AR proponent. I've worked with AR, augmented reality, a lot with the HoloLens, right? That's dead. But I think the ability to see things and then overlay information on top of the real world is important. Maybe people haven't seen it. Last week, Google AI and Samsung announced these really cool augmented reality. They kind of look like your glasses right there. Meta announced glasses, but they were a little uglier. I really think that augmented reality, both in, I would say, logistics. So imagine you're working on the factory floor and you need to see things that are happening. Traditionally, you'd look down at a phone or a tablet. Now you can glance at pipes, you could glance at an operation. I used to have a logistical background in airlines, knowing what's going on what aircraft, just by looking at it. So I think that's really important. So what's really exciting to me is you don't look like a dope, even with Apple, something stupid on your head. You have some nice glasses that a lot of us geek wear. I wear contacts now. Maybe eventually we'll get contacts. But anyways, that's my big thing on AR.
I've seen contacts that have some type of lighting in them, which indicates some sort of a power source. So get in there. Are you gonna? No. Oh, all right. I thought my friend over there, he's like, oh, I got something to say. No, he doesn't. He's all quiet now. All right. So from a programmer's perspective, part of where I think the immersive reality is sort of a bust is it's a lot of work to do the engineering on it, and it's very limited use. There aren't a lot of the Apple goggles users. I forget what they're even called. But I don't know, show of hands. Who'd be really excited to work on building something when there weren't a lot of users on it? Huh. A few hands up and some smirks. All right, there we go. Okay, now there's a challenge. Oh, there's a challenge. So I don't know how this is going to go, but we're going to break up into groups. One of the things that sort of fun is to say, well, if you were going to be a founder of Facebook, how would you build it from scratch? Any of these things. So what we're going to do is we're going to break up into groups. All right, everybody come on down. Come on down, you can do it. Now, we're going to need groups of, I'm told, at least three. Three's good. All right. Pair off into threes.
Let's do a counting.
Best you can.
Yeah, just count.
All right.
2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I like that. All right. Everybody come in one line.
Come on, everybody.
One line. Yeah, we'll start here. And then, yep, single file. Oh yeah. Oh, that was a good plan. Oh yeah, it's impossible to see you people up there. Okay, single file. Okay. Now we're gonna play. Okay, all right. You, sir, come here. Stand right here.
We're playing
Okay. All right. So, say 1.
1, 2,
Okay, great.
1,
Great.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Great.
1, 2, 3. There we go.
Great. Now you're 4. Okay, great. So now that you guys have your groups, I'll give you the design brief. You're going to have 10 minutes. You guys can change. You probably got 15 minutes. I don't know. You guys can try. So what you're going to do is eBay. We're going to literally so here's how I would do eBay. I like step 1, install WordPress. Step 2, install 3 plugins. Step 4, done. That's my version of it. But we got a lot of different technology stacks here. You can't copy mine. Don't just say, oh, WordPress. So for example, there's people that use AWS, whatever. The people that use all sorts of different things. We got, so anyway, all right. So, and just come up, and so designate one person. Okay, each group needs to have a person that's going to present. Raise your hand if you're that person.
We have to sign it.
Okay, you guys, call out a vote. Okay, your first order of business is have a representative. All right, everybody, hold up. Okay, I've confirmed every group has a representative. So to clarify a bit, and feel free to ask some questions, we're using existing technologies. It's not go back to 1990 whatever and build eBay based off of that. It's how would you build eBay today? What stack, what whatever, and we don't need actual code. Just roughly what's the approach? What would you do? What would your stack be? Right? I've got my lamp stack. I would go do that. What would you guys go do? All right. Carry on. Okay. All right. First up, your name? All right. Omar.
Yeah.
Tell us how you would build eBay in 2024.
Okay, so front end we're gonna use React.
You're looking at me like it's a question. You're like, no, I'm fine. Whatever your answer is your answer.
Front end React. For the back end MySQL, and deployment strategy we're gonna do Docker.
What's Docker going to run on? Kids these days.
You can run one machine.
Say anything.
Anything.
Docker's easy.
Okay. Runs on anything. Okay, that's fine. All right, Omar. Round of applause for Omar. And your name, sir?
My name is Brandon,
All right, Brandon.
and so we're creating a service called GigShip, right? GigShipper, right? Due to recent evaluations, we're renaming it. And basically, we're going to use Svelte on the front end because Svelte's the best. And we're just going to throw it right onto the cloud, right on AWS. And then it just allows people to just, why deal with all the shipping costs on something like eBay when you can just go through GigShip, which will just run through Amazon.
All right.
Perfect. Oh, yeah. Kohl's drop-off locations, Maine.
Okay.
Yeah. AI. Yeah, fun.
Cool. All right. Who do we have next?
I'm Santiago.
Santi, tell us all about it.
All right, so our team is composed of Sylvia and Kiara. We collectively realized we have no skills in this space, so we're just guessing and hoping it sticks. So with Kiara's experience in Java and robotics, we're going to go with a front-end strategy and see if she can't translate that to JavaScript. We're going to go with a Vue and Quasar front-end.
Yeah.
And then for the back end, we're kind of going with a sort of API strategy of getting Google search implemented because we don't know how to figure out keyword stuff ourselves. We're just going to kind of outsource that. And then that way we can kind of get that algorithm part ready so that we can figure out what we're actually going to sell. We need to set up an accounts and a search history portion, and we want to get a learning course going like immediately so that we don't have users confused on how to actually use the platform. And then when it comes to actually like shipping and getting that logistical stuff, we're going to keep that in-house and figuring that out for them with an optional checkbox to allow people to say like, actually, you do it, or no, I'll figure it out, because I don't trust you with my Lamborghini that I'm selling. So that's how we're doing. And then on the deployment end, we're going to kind of promote the learning first to avoid pitfalls with early customers so they come back. And then we're going to try to limit what can be sold at first just to ensure positive customer satisfaction, and then allow that local pickup so that people gain that familiarity from the Facebook marketplace side. And that's our guess at how to do this. We have no idea.
I love it. I love it. All right, your name for the audience.
All right, I'm Farid Khanna, and basically the way we're gonna build the new eBay is by doing as quickly as possible and as cheaply as possible. So we're gonna be bootstrapping this and hopefully going to the moon, right? That's the strategy. So basically we're using the cloud, obviously. No hardware, we don't have time to maintain it. And we're not even maintaining the software on that cloud service. So we're running with Elastic Beanstalk. So it's basically a container running whatever backend we need. In our case, we're going with Node.js. Yep. And the reason for that is because Node has a huge community, a lot of modules, components we can just grab off the shelf, so we can easily integrate with any service. We're not managing payments, we're throwing that to Stripe. We're not managing search, we're throwing that to Algolia or Elastic Search or whatever service we can find, right? And that's the back end. We're running Node.js, and on the front end, we're going with Vue or Svelte, depending on who we can get our hands on, because it's new technology, people like it, and hopefully will be sustainable, and it's looking great, better than React in my own opinion. But yeah, that's what
So
we're going with.
npm install eBay. Got it.
Pretty much. That's how it works.
All right. All right. Name for the audience.
Sylvia. So, the front-end strategy, our strategy overall would just be to go and use as many open source technologies as possible. So, like on the front end, I think we should just go and copy Craigslist and have no style at all, have the most basic front end possible, because if it works, it works. Why fix it?
Have a 404.css.
So on the back end, we'd go and be using languages like PHP and Laravel because of the vast amounts of community support with those libraries. Then for deployment, we'd want to go and deploy on a public cloud such as AWS using Kubernetes so that our deployment can scale up. And for things such as search, we'd go and be using things such as either Elasticsearch or Melee-Search. And yeah.
Cool. All right, everybody. Who says Las Vegas doesn't have any tech talent? npm install eBay. Simple, simple. All right. Okay. I'm going to step up a little so I can actually see y'all. Okay. I thought that was pretty fun. Show of hands, who thought that was a nice little exercise we did?
Could have been longer. Needed more time to
Needed more time to refine. All right.
refine our group.
So I think moving forward, we're going to do more of these challenges for two reasons. One of them is a big part of this group is trying to reinforce community, and the fact that we actually all just had a little bit of a chat and got to know each other a little bit better, that's pretty cool. But the other side of that is the easiest way to learn new technologies for this extroverted engineer, and likely many others, even the introverted ones, is to actually engage with what's a problem, what are we solving, what are some technologies we're using. So we heard some different languages, some this, some that. One of the things that I will sort of provide as a summary for anyone, so just as a general note, I typically am more managing a project or managing a product more than I am managing actually doing any lines of code. I do edit PHP at least a little bit most weeks. However, to give everybody sort of a high level overview of sort of the answers that we heard we're going to deploy to cloud, we've heard we're going to deploy to Docker, but Docker could host all sorts of places. Fine, I'm giving them a hard time. So I've been LAMP stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP for a while. However, I've recently started playing with JavaScript with Node, and Node has a lot of interesting solutions for a lot of different things. My biased opinion, as a guy that's made a lot of revenue off of a lot of these things, I'd say the more technology stacks you're familiar with, especially with what they're good at and what they're not good at, the better it is. One of the things I personally would love to see for this group is to see an evolution of, so for example, you got a WordPress problem? Hi, I'm Josh. I've done over 400 WordPress sites. You know, if you have a WordPress problem and you talk to me, you then probably don't have a WordPress problem. But that's in that area, and then there's some others. But it'd be nice to have a better understanding of what different expertise folks have. So this way, as we're going about in our projects, as we're going about in our community, for example, you know, Las Vegas is starting to get on the map a little bit more for startups and technology. I think that one of the things that Vegas has going for it stronger than pretty much anywhere I've lived, other than Utah, is community. Very reinforcement and likely to be helpful and engaged. We're all out in the desert trying to avoid burning to death, so why not try to be cool with each other? And so with that said, I appreciate everybody engaging with that. I heard a lot of chatter, I heard a lot of banter. I think some people got some exposure to some different thoughts and ideas, and if you felt uncomfortable and unprepared, then welcome to life. Ha ha ha. All right, big round of applause for everybody that presented. That was good, that was good. Now, I don't think there was much more slides, so I did try to milk that for a bit. Okay. Yeah, that's the last slide. This is from Gabe. He says, be cozy. I look forward to building an app. Apt-get? I was right. That's where I was heading with that. I'm like, I don't want to. Looking for building an apt-get. No. Look forward to building an app, cutting edge, and close community with everyone here next year. Thank you for contributing to get this started. Hugs all around. Happy holidays, and have a wicked awesome new year. All right, everybody. With that, we're going to move to the last part. The last part was a lot like the part we did before, which is just networking. The fact of the matter is Tech Alley is a community event. We're here to help support each other, or at least some of us are. So with that as our launch off, I'm going to encourage you, say hi to someone before you leave, and let's mingle. And if you want to talk about some projects or anything, I'm always down. All right, thanks everybody.